Evaluation has come with different models developed by different philosophers or known people. Its primary objective is to evaluate the curriculum effectiveness, especially in terms of implementation and achieving the goal. And the first one, as mentioned in the module, is Tyler's model of curriculum evaluation, which is an objective-centered model wherein the whole process revolves on the objective of the curriculum. It was developed by Ralph Tyler, and there are important steps to consider in Tyler's model. The first one is defining objectives. In every action we make, whether it's a part of the curriculum or the everyday lives, we should always define the objectives first before doing any actions, because objectives will give pathways or track that we will follow along the process. It is important to have a clear pathway to attain what we should or we want to attain at the end of the discussion or at the end of our action. And every objective we made should be SMART, which is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. It is always should be a SMART because objectives are very applicable to every aspect, not only in the curriculum, because SMART objectives encompasses all the necessary things that should be followed or considered. And the second one is selecting content. It is important to select content relevant or aligned with the objectives that we want to achieve in order to measure what we want to measure and to deliver what we want to deliver, especially to the students. We should select contents that are relevant or attainable, especially when we consider the capability of the students, the ability of the schools, especially its condition. Because when we select content that are not relevant, especially when in terms of the availability of resources or the capacity of the students to learn or to implement or to act that, the whole curriculum or the whole curriculum will defeat its purpose. And the third one is to define or select educational experience. It is important that we select or we create a sequence of actions or plans. It includes creating a lesson plans, a detailed lesson plans wherein lessons should be followed logically. It should not skip any phases of the implementation, because when we skip one phase, it might ruin the logical sequence or it not may measure what intends to measure. And the last one is evaluating. It is important that in every end of the action we made, we should evaluate something, especially in the curriculum. How we can know if that action or that approach is effective when we don't evaluate. So it's important to evaluate through performance assessment, tests, or even observation. We should evaluate them from the strengths, but also from their weaknesses, because in that way we can highlight the things that need to be improved and the things that need to be attained. That is Tyler's model of curriculums. It is a objective-centered model wherein the primary center of the evaluation is the objective of the curriculum. Second model of curriculum evaluation is CIPP model, or the Context, Input, Process, and Product model. It was developed by Daniel Staffelbeam. This curriculum evaluation model focuses on 4 components. The first one is context evaluation, second, input evaluation, third, process evaluation, and fourth, product evaluation. And context evaluation are also known as assessment of situation. In this phase, we assess first the situation of the curriculum, school, students, and even teachers. It is important to assess first the situation as a whole in order to highlight the gaps that needed to be filled, the adjustments that needed to be adjusted in order to have more smooth implementation or more smooth approach in order to achieve the objectives of the curriculum. And the second is input evaluation, or the assessment of materials and resources. It is important that in a curriculum, we should always assess first the availability of resources and materials in the area. Because how can you teach effectively or how can you implement effectively if there is no enough resources and materials? Because one of the factors in effective implementation is having enough materials because materials are very important. For example, you are teaching a computer class wherein there is no available computer in the schools. How can you teach how to use a computer without enacting it or without having the application? It's like it is not enough to teach only the concept through pictures, discussions, or lectures because it is more effective to have an application. How can you assess the students' learning if there is no application? It will defeat the purpose. Because, for example, your objective is teaching the students how to manipulate or how to manage a computer. But if there is no computer, there's no application, which means the objective is not being attained. And the third one is process evaluation or the assessment of implementations. It is one of the most important factors because the implementation process wherein should be considered if it caters all the needs of the students or if it's effective enough to implement or to provide what are the things that needed to be learned. For example, your target students are the high school students, but your approach is for elementary students. Do you think that it is effective? No, it's not effective because the approach didn't align with your target audience. So it is important that we assess the implementation process from the very beginning until the end, from the small detail until to the biggest detail or the larger or the most important detail of the implementation. Because assessing the implementation process will not only highlight the effectiveness of the approach or the curriculum, but also it will highlight the needs to be adjusted in the next implementation. And the last one is the product evaluation or the outcome assessment. It is important that in every action we made or in every implementation or curriculum that we implement, there is an evaluation. Because how can you assess the effectiveness of it if there is no evaluation? We need to evaluate the outcome of that process, if it is effective or if it's achieved the objectives. Because if does not achieve the objectives, then there is wrong in the process or the whole curriculum itself. Because the curriculum is meant to achieve the objectives, but if it does not achieve the objectives, then there is something wrong that needed to be known and addressed.
Third is Stake's Countenance Model, developed by Robert E. Stake. This model emphasizes understanding the countenance or face of a curriculum by identifying stakeholders' perspective and values. It explores how the curriculum is experienced by different participants and assess its overall impact on the educational environment. Fourth is Scriven's Goal-Free Evaluation, created by Michael Scriven. This model advocates for evaluating a curriculum without predetermined objectives. Instead of focusing on specific goals, it encourages evaluators to discover unexpected outcomes and impacts, providing a broader understanding of the curriculum's effectiveness.
Staffelbeam's CIPP model. This model was developed by Daniel Staffelbeam. This model evaluates programs, projects, or different policies. This model has different components. The first component is context. In context, it identifies the different needs, goals, and stakeholders. It also defines the different problems or opportunities. It also determines the evaluation scope. Next component is the input. The input assesses the different resources, planning, and interpretation. It also evaluates the different kinds of budget, personnel, and materials. It also examines the program design and implementation plans. Next component is the process. The process evaluates the implementation and delivery of the curriculum. It also monitors the different programs and activities given in the implementation of the curriculum. It also assesses the program management. When we say it assesses the program management, It evaluates or oversees how the implementation of the curriculum is ongoing. Next component is the product. The product measures the outcome and impact of the curriculum. It evaluates the program effectiveness, how the curriculum or the policies, the different activities program, if it is effective or not. It also identifies the success and area for improvement. Last component is the decision-oriented evaluation. It is the updated component in this model. In this component, it uses the findings to inform decision-making. It uses evaluation for us to have the decision-making. It analyzes data to guide program for improvements. And it also informs the policy for decisions. Example, a school uses Staffelbeam CIPP model to evaluate its career education curriculum. Next is the Eisner's connoisseurship model. This was developed by Elliot Eisner. This model evaluates curriculum and educational experiences. It also has different key principles. First, appreciation. In appreciation, it understands deeper of the meaning in the teaching and learning. Second, expertise. Evaluator possesses different kinds of knowledge and experiences. For example, is an art teacher who is an expertise in art. A math teacher who has an expertise in mathematics. The third principle is the holistic. It considers multiple perspectives. And last, nuance. It recognizes complexity and subtlety. In Eisner's connoisseurship model, it has evaluation steps. These are describe, interpret, evaluate, and thematize. When we say describe, it documents the educational experiences of the learners and the teachers. Next, interpret. It analyzes and understands the different experiences of the learners, students, teachers, stakeholders, benefactors, and others. And it also evaluates. It judges or sees the quality and effectiveness of the programs, policies, or curriculum that are being implemented in an educational institution. And the last step is thematize. It identifies the different patterns and themes. An example of this model, just like what I said a while ago, is an arts education curriculum, wherein it focuses only on arts. If we are going to compare the two different models that I've been discussed, in the Staffelbeam's CIPP model, it focuses on program evaluation for us to have a decision making. It has also considers the quantitative and the qualitative data for us to have decision making. While the Eisner's model, it emphasizes nuanced understanding and artistic appreciation, and it only focuses on the narrative or the qualitative data, which is more on description, more on narrative, rather than numeracy or the quantitative data.
Everyone, kindly bring out of one half sheet of paper and answer this following assessment. In the test 1, it is true or false. In the test 2, it is identification.